Welcome back. It is the Arvo Flow Sports Hour, and joining me for the first time in 2023 is our North American sports expert, Eddie Dads from scplaybook.com.au. Eddie, great to be with you again. How are you?
I am going great, Ellis. It's nice and warm in Adelaide today. The Australian Open's kicking off as we speak. There's NFL playoffs. There's NBA season heating up. There's golf. There's just everything going on at the moment, Ellis. So I'm in my element, loving it. It's good to be back on the show.
Still in the Australian sports time zone for another couple of weeks, which I'm sure you'll enjoy. It's good to be back with you again, Eddie. Let's get right into it. A red letter day for the NBA legend LeBron James in what was a very fiery game against the Philadelphia 76ers. Tell us what history's been made here.
Yeah, another cracking game of NBA, Ellis. Russell Westbrook missed a potentially game-winning shot against the 76ers, but that was sort of beside the point today. LeBron James became just the second player in NBA history to reach 38,000 points. 38,000 points. It gets a little silly every time you think about it in your head. That's a lot of points, Ellis. So he is now second only to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in the most points ever in the NBA race. Kareem has 38,387. For those playing at home, that means LeBron is now just 387 points behind, breaking what many people thought was one of the more unbreakable records in sport. Kareem obviously played for 20 years, was the best player in the NBA for a big chunk of that. So it's absolutely crazy that in less than 10 games time, probably somewhere in the middle of February, we're going to see LeBron James break the NBA scoring record. It's just phenomenal. Just for context, by the way, Ellis, Michael Jordan scored 32,000 points in his career. So LeBron's already 6,000 points ahead of Michael Jordan. He's 5,000 points ahead of Kobe Bryant. It gets sillier the more you think about it. The fact that we're witnessing this guy who's at the age of 38 still one of the best players in the NBA, it's quite baffling to me. I can't believe it. Every time I see him play, he feels just as good as he did 10 years ago.
We have highlighted in the past how NBA players just seem to go on and on and on these days. How much longer has LeBron James got in him, Eddie? As you say, 38 years old. Has he got much more in the tank at the highest level for you?
He certainly does, Ellis. He's been on the record several times saying that he wants to play with his eldest son, Bronny. Bronny's currently 18 and in high school. So best case scenario, he's going to be in the NBA in 2 years. So LeBron said that he wants to play for at least another 2 years. So we're going to see him finish with a number of points that I don't think he's ever going to be broken. It was quite funny. They asked Luka Doncic earlier this week. Luka's probably one of the best young players in the NBA. Objectively one of the guys with the best chance of perhaps breaking that scoring record one day. And Luka basically laughed it off and said, "No way! In 15 years' time, I'm going to be back in Slovenia on a farm doing nothing." He can't believe what LeBron's doing at this age. Neither can I. I'd say he's got at least 3, 4, 5. We've seen Tom Brady at 45 still playing well in the NFL. I don't really see why LeBron can't do that, can't get to at least his early 40s, Ellis, which would just be wild.
Extraordinary stuff indeed. Well, one thing I can't believe is that we're already in playoff territory in the NFL, Eddie. Now, you're all over this, so tell us who's looking the goods in the playoffs in the NFL.
It's been one of the best playoff rounds that I've seen recently, Ellis. All of the games so far this weekend have been really intense, really high scoring, and just really excellent to watch. So we've already seen the Jacksonville Jaguars came back from 27 points down to beat the LA Chargers, which was incredible. The 49ers smashed the Seahawks. The Bills just got over the Dolphins. The Giants, who I actually were my sleeper pick before the playoffs, they beat the Vikings today, and the Bengals just got over the Ravens. So it's all happening. Ellis, it's really hard to pick at this point who's actually going to win the Super Bowl. I think the Kansas City Chiefs are still my number one pick. I think Patrick Mahomes is the best player left in the playoffs at this stage. But as I said, I really like the New York Giants. I can't shake it. I have this thing for them. I really enjoy their quarterback, Daniel Jones. They're playing the Eagles in Philadelphia next week. The Eagles were the NFC's top team, so they had a bye this week. But I just have this sneaky feeling that the Giants are going to get by them. So keep an eye on that one. The NFL is just flying. I saw the other day that of the top 100 most viewed TV events in America this year, I think the NFL had 40 of those events, 40 different games that cracked the top 100 in TV viewership. So as a league, it's just going from strength to strength, Ellis.
Now, the Chargers dropping the ball against the Jaguars, we should just highlight this game because this was just so unprecedented to see a team drop the ball like this. What on earth happened, Eddie?
Yeah, it was wild. I was really kind of disappointing for one of the league's best young quarterbacks, Justin Herbert, who leads the LA Chargers The team was up 27-0 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. They somehow managed to blow it. They went back into their shells in the second half. They missed a field goal, which was crucial. Trevor Lawrence, who'd thrown four interceptions in the first half against the Chargers, he turned it on in the second half. Was absolutely brilliant. A couple of really, really gutsy play calls from Doug Peterson, the Jaguars coach. I have to say, Alice, I never like seeing coaches get fired, but Brandon Staley, the coach of the LA Chargers, I'd be very, very surprised if he has a job next year. The rumours are saying that Sean Payton, the ex-New Orleans Saints Super Bowl winning coach, is probably going to make his way to the Chargers, and I think that's going to be a really, really good fit. So keep an eye on that one too.
Eddie Dad's all over it, and scplaybook.com.au all over the NRL. Well, during silly season in the NRL, Eddie, we're getting some pretty extraordinary reports coming out. One of those concerns a Panthers star, and of course Penrith having run the last two installments of the NRL. What do you know about this story?
Yeah, so, the Panthers, they're going to be one of the favourites again this year, Ellis. I know some people have started to sort of question the depth of their squad and whatnot, but one thing that's not going to help them this year is they are going to lose their star centre, Stephen Crichton, at the end of the 2023 season. So, as we've discussed a few times, I can never wrap my head around the fact that NRL players know a full season in advance they're not going to be playing at the club that they're currently at, but that's by the by. Crichton apparently is being offered upwards of $900,000 a year to play fullback. By several other clubs, including the Bulldogs, who apparently have unlimited cash at this point. They seem to be throwing money at every single eligible player. But yeah, a bit of a blow for the Panthers, Ellis. I think Crichton, to mine, is a little bit more of a cream on top sort of player rather than the guy you really build around. So I'm not sure the Panthers will be too upset to lose him. But they are just starting to see their good players starting to get poached by other teams. So it's going to be a really, really interesting season. I think I'm still backing the Bunnies to win this year, Ellis. I love my Bunnies, the Rabbitohs, but yeah, the Panthers are going to be as hard to beat as ever.
Perhaps it's some strategic plays revolving around the salary cap. We shall wait and see. Now, the Australian Open is on, Eddie, and it's going to be another fantastic Open, no doubt about that. The most sort of interesting or entertaining point for me is the fact that we may well now be at the point where we see this new guard of players dominate the Open. I'm not sure what your thoughts are on that. I know it's early days still, but we've still got some veterans running around in the form of Rafael Nadal and Novak Djokovic, at least as far as the men's side is concerned. Do you see it being that time where we're going to see a change of the guard? We have sort of spruiked this with other Opens throughout the back end of 2022. I just wonder, though, is the Australian Open going to be any different, or will we see the classic names up there again when it comes to the latter point of the competition, Eddie?
Well, really fascinating stuff on both sides, men's and women's, Ellis. To your point about the men's side of the draw and whether we're going to see the new guards start to take over, it's one of the more unfortunate timings I can remember that Carlos Alcaraz, who's ranked number one in the world, the 19-year-old who took the world by storm, and Nick Kyrgios are now both out of the Australian Open. So those were the two players that, if you'd asked me 2 weeks ago, I would have said those two players were the best place to take out Djokovic or Nadal. At this point, I'd love to say that I'm going to see, the like of a Casper Ruud or a Felix Auger-Aliassime take out the Australian Open. But Ellis, I really can't see Novak losing. He's at $1.80 as a favourite at the moment. He's the best player in the world on this surface specifically, and on most surfaces generally. But he absolutely loves playing the Australian Open. I believe he's gunning for his 11th Australian Open title. So for mine, I find it a little bit hard to see Novak losing. If he was going to go down, I think it would be someone like a Casper Ruud potentially, or a Felix Auger-Aliassime, who I mentioned earlier. They're probably my two favourites from outside the sort of top picks. Then you got the likes of Yannick Sinner, Medvedev, Taylor Fritz as well. But yeah, it's hard to see Novak losing. And on the women's side of the draw, they're in a bit of flux at the moment without, Ash Barty's retired. Iga Swiatek is the favourite to win that. I like Ons Jabeur she's at about 15-1 at the moment. She looks like a good spot for me. She's been playing really good tennis. Belinda Bencic as well, coming off a good win at the Adelaide International last week. But yeah, the women's side is wide open. Men's side, I think Novak probably has it sewn up.
And just talking about men's, you don't rate the likes of Stefanos Tsitsipas or Denis Shapovalov at all?
I don't, Ellis. Those two specifically, I'm not sure they quite have the, how do I say this in a nice way? They don't quite have the mental fortitude, in my opinion, to take out a Grand Slam. I think they're really good in some of the lesser tournaments. Tsitsipas especially doesn't seem to really like playing on the big stages as much. I do like Yannick Sinner. He's probably looking the pick of the bunch without Kyrgios and Alcaraz in the mix. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting. It looks like beautiful weather in Melbourne at the moment. The grounds there are just incredible. I'm getting over there later this week to take a look at it in person, which I'm very, very excited about, Ellis. Can't wait to see what the Oz Open has in store for us.
Do you love getting out to a sporting event these days? Well, there you go. Eddie Dad's endorsing the Italian Yannick Sinner. Eddie, great to chat with you again. We haven't spoken to you for a while, so before we let you go, just let us know what's going on in the world of the masthead that you write for, scplaybook.com.au.
It's been really good, Alice. We have been absolutely diving into the Big Bash League Supercoach at the moment. Our fearless leader, Tim Williams, is currently ranked 121st overall out of about 50,000 people playing that game. So he's absolutely killing it. As I'm sure you're well aware, it's just starting to ramp up towards NRL and AFL pre-seasons as well. So we're going to have all that covered. The podcast is in the usual spot on the iTunes library as well. Take a look at it, scplaybook.com.au for all of your Supercoach needs.
Excellent work. Well, Eddie Dads, it's great to catch up with you again. We look forward to speaking to you in a week's time. Enjoy all the sport, and thanks a lot for your company. We'll speak to you soon, Eddie.
Thanks, Alice. Speak to you next week.